Big day at Shopify. It is Shopify Unite today. Shopify Unite! In which we learn what the new product announcements are. We get like, hey, here's the gigantic list of features coming down the pipe over the next 12 months, right?
Yeah.
Is that a good representation of what Shopify Unite is?
I just don't understand this room I'm in right now. What is
my
this
gosh.
place?
We have left our homes and we are working in our big boy office that I've been paying rent on
for
the
year.
last 16 months while it goes entirely unused.
Well, I'm not wearing headphones too, which is weird now. Now I'm used to that.
And wearing the headphones?
Yeah.
You know, I have an extension cable. I'll set you up with some
very
headphones.
far. Also, that now we're recording it like socially distanced, where previously we were in your tiny little office in your house.
That was a 10 by 10 room. I had to work with what I had. So our Unite announcements.
Yeah, big day. This is an emergency podcast, by the way.
Bonus podcast.
I say it's an emergency podcast.
Emergency bonus.
Red alert.
Please give me a moment to queue up Red Alert. Oh, I don't even have Red Alert on here
my
anymore.
God. I told you hours ago.
You set me up. All right. Continue.
Yeah, they announced changes. And it sounds like, after being burned for years of announcing things that then never happened, it sounds like all these things are going to happen.
That's pretty exciting. Well, so what you're referring to is sections everywhere.
Sections everywhere, sections anywhere, sections
wherever.
Wherever, yeah. Where I believe we're on the third Unite that features sections everywhere.
Yeah, I'm. At this point, I feel I'm a little gaslit. I don't know. Like I question reality. But I think the last 3 Unites they announced.
Yeah, they did.
Sections everywhere.
Yeah. Soon.
Only this time it's going to stick. Third time's the charm.
Yeah, because what they did is they have rewritten a ton of the Shopify backend, and they're calling it Online Store 2.0.
Yeah, so many features. We said Online Store 2.0.
And I mocked the very 2001-ness of that, but Kurt made a good point, which I don't think they said explicitly.
They didn't say, this is me speculating.
No, it became, the terminology they ended up using later on in the presentation made it very clear in that the line is going to be, oh, well, you're running a 1.0 theme, and a 1.0 theme doesn't have all the hookups and all the cool stuff that we just talked about. So you're going to need to upgrade to a 2.0 theme that's 2.0 compatible. So that's how they're going to get around it.
Which makes sense. I
mean,
it's such a complicated transition. I don't know how else you'd do it.
Yeah, the idea that they were just going to kind of like backport those abilities onto currently existing themes was a huge lift, obviously, because they've been working on it for years and it never worked out. So they're kind of rewriting the whole thing.
So let's talk about what Online Store 2.0 is. To me, it sounded like it came down to 3 major features.
Okay.
Number 1, of course, which we've been talking about, is sections everywhere. Tell me what sections everywhere means.
Well, it's interesting to me. So what it is that you're just going to build section blocks like you have on your homepage right now. Those are going to exist universally. Like right now, we kind of have homepage blocks that are like, these are sections and blocks that go on the homepage. That's where they live. And then there's like product detail pages where you can have those blocks, but those are all kind of written into that template. Here, more like it, you are just writing the section or the block once, and then it will be available in all of the templates, which is cool and good. But one thing, so this is a little deep in the weeds here. One thing I feel like I noticed, I'm not sure if I got a clear answer on this. In the presentation, they created, they had a store and they made a new product template that was going to be used for handbags. And so then they're like, well, and then we move these sections around and blah, blah, blah. And here's our handbag template for the handbag products. And that's already available in current Shopify. The problem is the content you plugged into that handbag template was going to show up on all the handbags.
Right.
So it couldn't be specific to that specific product. It would just have to be about all the handbags. Like all the content is universal across every single product that's using that template. which is the big pain in the butt. Because if you want to have special product-specific content specifically on that product, you need to create a new template for it or do various shenanigans that we have grown very accustomed to.
Right.
And it sounds like the way they're getting around that is actually what we did is one of the ways we would get around it is use what is called meta fields. And meta fields are data about your products that live on the back end of the Shopify store, but there was really no good way for you, the store owner, to access it. Like, we knew how to access it and we knew how to screw around with them, but it was tough for store owners to do it. And that's how we would get around that whole templating thing, is that we'd make the template, all the handbags use the handbag template, but then the content for each individual handbag product would be stored in a meta field that's attached to the product. And what they're doing now is they're making meta fields way more front-facing. And then when you're moving the section around and doing that stuff, you then call the meta field, use this meta field for this area on the product page. And then the content for that and the data for that meta field is stored on the product page for each individual product.
Okay.
If you catch my drift.
And
Was
so
that too deep in the weeds?
It sounds like what's going on here.
It sounds like to me that Sections Anywhere is really very much like the current system that existed. They're just making it way more front-facing.
Okay. So if we think of Shopify as a content management system, a CMS, which is what it is, the holy grail, be-all, end-all in a CMS, the end goal is, can you entirely separate style and substance? So content versus design. An online store 2.0 is a huge step toward that. Anytime you get there, it makes life dramatically easier because now you have a lot fewer instances of, I need to change this one piece of content. Oh, I don't know how. I have to go email a theme developer.
Yeah.
Those hassles and headaches go away when you're on what we're going to call a 2.0 theme.
Yeah.
And then to make life even easier, the other hassle that you couldn't get away from, even if you had this, meta fields and really great CMS, was apps. Right now, if I install an app in Shopify and it's got a widget, so it appears somewhere in the theme, and I need to choose where that goes, it's either paste this liquid snippet somewhere, hope you don't screw it up, and no one wants to, what merchant wants to go edit their theme code, or go poke around in the app's GUI and hope you could find, like a CSS selector that can attach.
Yeah, or like the app does it itself, and fingers crossed, it picks a good spot that you're happy with.
So the new system, they call it theme app extensions, whereas it sounded like essentially an app can write a section for itself into your theme.
Yeah, they call them app blocks. And so as part of Sections Anywhere, one of the sections, along with testimonials or a contact us form or whatever, or the various sections, an app will create its own section that will be in those tools that then you can use to move around your page. And then the first 2.0 theme is called Dawn. That's going to be the new default theme in every new store. Yes.
And this also is going to it will inevitably end up being like the base framework a lot of theme developers will use for developing custom themes for clients or for sale.
Yeah, that's the main thing I'm excited by because so what we always did is we have been using Turbo, as everyone knows. Like Turbo is sort of our base theme because it does so many things already. And then we modify it for whatever our specific client needs. And then earlier this year, a month ago, I created a theme for one of our clients that's not published yet. And I was like, you know what? Turbo's getting real crazy. It's more than we need, especially for this small store.
Yeah, I was going to say we were building a micro site.
We were building a small store that was like, this store has 12 products. All it does is sell stuff. You're already sold on it. It was like a sub store for one of our clients.
It would have been like killing a fly with a sledgehammer kind of scenario.
So what I did was I built that theme and that design on top of Debut. And so I'm excited to see what Dawn offers, and I could just hit the ground running. And we, fingers crossed, have another big theme update, big new custom theme we're writing on later this summer for someone. And I really want to build that on top of Dawn, depending on what Dawn holds for us. Otherwise, I have to go back to Turbo because Turbo just has so much already under the hood.
I don't think Dawn is in the theme store yet, but it is on GitHub. So if you wanted to play with it, you could get it.
Yeah.
And speaking of the theme store, they will start accepting submissions for new themes on the 15th, July 15th. So we should get some new officially approved Toby stamp of approval themes.
Yeah, I want to see how. I would love to know. Not to make our whole show about one theme, but it kind of already is. But I would love to see how much out of the sandbox knew about all this. Like, were they looped in? Like, will Turbo 7 be a Shopify 2.0 theme? Like, how long until they're fully on board?
Yeah, it's not.
Or do they have to rewrite? Or are they going to build a new theme? Or who knows?
It's hard to know because anyone who did know was under strict NDA with penalty of death.
Yeah.
Myself included, right up until 1:15 p.m. today. So now we'll find out, hopefully we'll find out more and that, more people were in the loop. I know a few. I have a few suspects who I think knew in advance.
Yeah.
So we'll see how far along they are with development.
And the rest of it, to be honest to our listeners, the rest of it was very much developer based. Of just
a lot of developer focused.
There's a lot
stuff.
of like APIs. You could build this. You could build that. You could build this. Our listeners, who are mostly store owners, are not building things. They're using the things, but the things that will be built will be easier for you to use.
They will be faster.
Yeah.
They will be easier, and potentially cheaper and or more enthusiastically supported. Because much to my amusement as a app developer, Shopify is dropping the 20% commission. And they don't call it a commission, revenue share. They're dropping the 20% revenue share to 0%, which as a business move, I think is fabulous.
Excellent. I wouldn't call something that someone just takes from you off the top sharing.
Well, you get in their app store and get their exposure.
How about the tax? The 20% revenue tax store usage tax we have to pay.
No, thank you, Papa Harley, for all you've done.
But anyway, yeah, so all app developers are getting a 20% raise. And if they're not getting a 20% raise, they were already making over $1 million, in which case,
congratulations.
Don't cry for them.
Let's see what else here. And then, all right, so meta fields and custom content. Let's see.
The meta fields, it's a big deal, really big deal to us. You may have heard us talk about meta fields a lot. We do a lot of shenanigans with tags where we make our clients like write out these insane tags on products, and then we take the tag and like manipulate it in a way so it's data that shows up on the front page, on the product page. Because asking them to screw with meta fields is really confusing. The meta field apps, they don't suck. It's just that it's
a tough problem to solve.
It's a tough problem to solve, and like it has to be kind of stupid in order to solve the problem. And so hopefully Shopify really embracing meta fields on the front end will make them way easier for people to deal with.
Yes. Yeah, and so if you're not familiar with meta fields, if you're like, what is this word they keep throwing around? All right, let's replace meta with custom. You say custom field.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like, imagine, so you're looking at a product listing, you've got title, price, description. All right, but what if you wanted tabs on a product? And what if that tab description was going to be different for every product? Like you had description and then ingredients as your second tab. Size guide, whatever. And it was unique to every product. Well, that's a really tough thing to implement without meta fields. Meta fields essentially lets you extend that, where it's like, all right, I've got my description field. I also have my ingredients field. I have my sizing field. And then I can just put my content in there. That's why we're excited about this, is it really lets you extend product information management in Shopify.
Something that everyone hearing this has dealt with is the review score of your product. Whether you're running Yotpo, you're running Stamped or whatever, the star score on that product, it's obviously individual to every product. Some products are 4.5, some are 3.2. That's stored on the product as a meta field. You can't see it, but it's in there. And that's where those apps store that.
Now, the limitation of meta fields is you can really only put a string of text into it. Right?
You're not putting paragraphs. Well, with the editor,
I can put a paragraph in.
You can put a paragraph in,
but I can't upload a file into it. I would have to give it a link to a file. Like, let's say I wanted a meta field to hold an image.
then you have to upload it to the file section and then grab the URL from the store file section and paste that into the meta field as the URL, and then write the meta field in the template in such a way so it's like an image tag, and then the source of the image tag, it's assuming it'll be the URL of the image.
So that's the second half of the meta fields update, is this thing they're calling custom content, quote, coming soon. So with a grain of salt, who knows what that means? Could be this year, could be 2024. We don't know. But custom content will be built on top of the new meta fields infrastructure and will serve as Shopify's content management platform. So it says will allow merchants to store content of any format within Shopify. Okay, great. It sounds like that limitation of meta fields are really just text also goes away. Like a file could be a meta field now.
Yes.
Thank you.
The rest of the stuff, they're like, it's going to be even faster. A single merchant can do 300,000 transactions in 8 minutes. It's like, all right. Right. It just sounds nice.
It sounds nice. It's incredibly impressive. The problem with it is, and this is the craziest thing to have a problem with, it was already so good and so reliable. At no point have I ever worried about Shopify or the Shopify checkout just like going down under load. Yeah. It's never happened to any of our clients.
Well, because we're losers.
Oh.
We don't have cool clients.
Oh, but they're listening.
Oh, they're great.
I love you guys.
They're real cool. We don't have like Kylie Jenner.
Do I want Kylie Jenner?
I wouldn't want Kylie Jenner.
Yeah.
Oh God, no.
I'm sure she's fine.
My dad's an attorney, and he just has like a suburban office.
He's Kylie Jenner's attorney?
He is Kylie Jenner's attorney. No, but he has like a regular old schmo law practice, and one of his best friends from law school is one of the biggest personal injury attorneys in Chicago. Like legit, okay. He's a millionaire. He's huge. And we would always give my dad shit because we were like, how come we don't get to live like this guy? Like, how come we don't get to be like his
I'm
kids?
sure he'd love that.
Yeah, no, we really hammered him for it. And he was like, listen, we're street lauriers.
Lawyers.
He's like, I'm a street lawyer. He's like, I'm in the streets. You don't even understand what I got to do.
So we're street partners?
We're street partners.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Jedi skull.
All right, so Shopify checkout, they said the goal is for a single merchant to be able to sell 300,000 pairs of sneakers in over 8 minutes, and for each individual shop to have the ability to handle as much sales volume as they served across all of Shopify at the peak of Black Friday, Cyber Monday 2020. That's an outrageous
It's just overkill. It's like, well, who cares?
No, what it is future-proofing. Because if we're assuming like the future is online retail, then this just dismantled the fear of the thing going down under like your epic flash sale.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think any of our listeners need to worry about this.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, guys.
Sure.
You're street merchants like us.
Yeah, see, that's right. We're street partners that work with street merchants.
There you go. Checkout extensions, though, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like the Prop 65 example.
It's the most common checkout thing we do.
And it's so right now, if you want to mess with the Shopify checkout, you have to be on Shopify Plus, which is expensive, and that then gives you access to checkout.liquid, meaning you can edit the checkout template. But even that, like, it's dangerous. You don't want to be doing that because there's some risk there. And they regularly update the checkout, so you got to reapply your customizations, once a year.
Well, and checkout.liquid is really black boxed in that there's just like a little code snippet that's just like customer information. So like, a giant thing on the page in the checkout is one line in the checkout of a thing you can't manipulate.
Well, yeah, so they're trying to keep you from screwing it up.
But I mean, it screws us up. I mean, we always have to add Prop 65 warnings, and I can't, and they always change the way the HTML pieces work. I can't do it where if they change the state, the warning then appears. Like, if you're in California, it sniffs out you're in California and then will auto load the Prop 65 warning. If I'm in Illinois and change the state to California, the Prop 65 warning doesn't just pop up because it can't read that the box has changed.
All right, so
I can't edit that.
Let's go for the top here with this working example. If, let's say, you sell a product that has an ingredient in it that is on the gigantic list of things listed as potentially causing cancer or reproductive harm in California. This is a thing called Proposition 65.
Which is everything. I did one last week for sand.
Yes, it was because the sand had a naturally occurring element to it.
Has silica, an element.
Yeah. But like, if you're not familiar and you haven't been to California in the last 10 years, there's a Prop 65 warning on every single Starbucks and throughout the Disneyland property.
Yeah.
Literally little well-designed signs that tell you Disneyland could potentially give you cancer or cause...
Well, it contains a chemical
reproductive
that
harm.
has also been connected to causing cancer. It's like
Yes.
very tenuous, but everyone needs to be informed.
All right, so let's say you have a product that has one of these chemicals. What we do to address Prop 65
Which
is...
we legally have to do.
We legally have to do this, is if a product tagged Prop 65 is in the checkout and the shipping address is California, then a state-mandated warning about this appears in the checkout. To do that previously to today, you had to be on Shopify Plus. A theme developer had to customize checkout.liquid for you. Shopify has solved that with a new feature called Checkout Extensions that essentially lets apps rewrite the way checkout looks. And the example they used, to my absolute delight, was Prop 65, a Prop 65 warning. And the other wonderful part about it, it is available to all stores, no longer limited to Shopify Plus.
Yeah, it's great. Can we get dark for a second?
Sure.
What does Shopify Plus get now?
I was waiting for, all right, here's the updates on Plus, because that does chip away at the competitive moat around Shopify Plus.
And the other thing is, a lot of the Plus had Shopify scripts. Scripts did a bunch of cool stuff for you in the checkout with discounting. Like, we leverage those a lot.
Scripts probably by far, Scripts and Checkout.Liquid are like the two things we use the most with Plus.
You could do stuff with Scripts that would pay the money you're paying for Shopify Plus. It was totally worth it.
You still can.
You should just, what I'm saying is you should just be on Scripts to begin with, because if you can leverage them to pay for Plus.
Yeah.
But now with this checkout extensions, Scripts is not as necessary, it feels like.
I don't know. I think, no, because Scripts is so much about, well, you know what? We don't know what the limitations are on checkout extensions. Maybe there's limitations on it that like Scripts could do that it can't.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Now, they did say like, hey, also Shopify, like here's the quote, Shopify scripts are easier to build and more powerful than ever for developers creating unique checkout experiences.
That's basic.
Did you catch what it was?
I didn't. I mean, I thought that sounded to me like the extensions with like this. They were just like APIs. Have fun.
And I got to go back and see if like what changed about Shopify scripts, because I love them. It's a thing we use almost daily. And then the other, similar to checkout extension, they're doing payment platforms, which is a way to integrate third-party payment gateways into Shopify checkout. Why that's important is it also includes Shopify Pay. So previously, maybe that's the update to scripts, is that it can address Shopify Pay?
Maybe.
I got to look into this. All right, so that one's up in the air. I need to research that more.
But again, a developer thing that you guys really don't need to worry about.
That's more me screwing around. But similar to checkout extensions, where an app can add a widget and mess with your checkout, you can payments are now a better integrated thing, where third-party custom payments, payment gateways can exist in Shopify. They just plug in like an app, as well as in Shopify payments. Shop Pay, the quick pay one.
Too many common words.
Too many words. This show's got too many words now. Well, there are some other things, but those were the big highlights.
Well, and there's hydrogen and oxygen and blah blah blah. That's all for building. Is that headless? Is that what headless is? I don't even know. But that's a thing where they're like, it's coming. It'll be cool. It's coming. So call me when it's here.
And you'll play with it?
And I'll look at it.
Okay. Well, yeah, it was an hour-long presentation, and it was cool. It ended with Toby Lukey doing live coding.
Yeah,
and like narrating it and talking you through it in his delightful German dulcet tones.
Using
let it wash over me.
Using hydrogen to build a custom storefront and showing you how that will work in the future.
And that's headless.
When it happens.
Yeah, when we say custom storefront.
That means you're not on Shopify, you're hosted somewhere else, but you're using the Shopify APIs.
Yeah, your transactions are powered by Shopify.
Yeah.
Nomadgoods.com, that's a headless store. It's a long-running Shopify store, and they were on the show. I like them. If you're It's neither here nor there. Did we mention that the Netflix store is the first online? That's the first
Shopify 2.0 store.
Yeah. If you want to see a 2.0 store in action, and I bet this one looks great, check out Netflix.shop.
Well, it's all on the back end, so really wouldn't be that
it'll
thrilling.
be cool. It'll be fast. Yeah, it would be from the front end. You really can't distinguish between, hard coding something and meta fields and sections everywhere. But it's still fun. You check it out. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Yeah, those are the big ones. I'm sure we'll talk about it more as details come out and as we get to release dates and timelines. So as stuff becomes available and we can experience it firsthand, we'll update you on the show.
Yeah, we'll see when it'll probably whenever Dawn finally is available for actual store owners to install. Hopefully that's when the floodgates open and you'll see a wave of 2.0 storefronts. But until then, just hold on to your butts and wait.
All right, let's get out of here.
All right, bye.